Welcome to the I'm Still Here podcast. I'm your host, Heather Jose. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here. And we're here to talk to you about life with metastatic disease. We know it's not easy. We know that there are challenges that never get talked about, but we're here to walk with you through them, to show you some hope, some inspiration, and to help you make a plan so that you can join me in saying, I'm still here. Can we talk a little bit about relationships, single, not single, dating, all of these things? I was married when I was diagnosed, and fortunately, our relationship has stayed stable through all of that. But I know that there are many women that their relationship status isn't married. And
Yeah.
and then they find out they have breast cancer, or in the midst of that, they find breast cancer. I feel like it's such a challenge, and I just wanted to talk to you about how has that been for you? Can you talk a little bit about dating, single, not single, all of it?
Yeah, right. Well, like I said earlier, we were in a relationship for like about a year before I got diagnosed. And for both of us, that was like the longest relationship we'd been in.
Okay.
And that he decided to stay. And I remember freezing eggs and then pushing me to freeze embryos. So now I'm very glad I didn't because we have broken up recently. Um, but I think being in it together, it was of course helpful to have somebody there, but I do think that a part of me became very loyal because of that, and perhaps I forgave some things early on that I wouldn't have forgiven otherwise that have now come back a bit to bite me in the butt.
Mhm.
For example, cheating. But I understood it at the time because, we'd been through so much together. And when you're young and you go through something like that, it's confusing. And there is a lot that you still have to grow through. But there's so much that I'm grateful to him for. And I remember the biggest thing just being that he was somebody who didn't really treat me that differently when I got sick because he was seeing me every day and he did notice that I wasn't different. And when you're only seeing somebody like every few months or only talking to them on the phone, it's easy to infer your own stuff on how they're doing.
Mhm.
But, recently we broke up in December and I broke up with him because he told me he wasn't sure if he was in love with me anymore, which is, of course, very fun to hear. But
Mhm.
there's something about my gut that has happened since I got sick where, like, sometimes it's screaming at me.
Yeah.
And there's not and it did that when when that doctor was saying he was gonna fire me, it's just done it throughout, like, where I've just known and once I become sure of something in my gut, I can't shut it up, and so for me, the second he said that and it wasn't ending in him breaking up with me, I've been to lots of therapy to work on things throughout the years, and he was not as willing to go into therapy. Now he'll sing its praises, which is interesting, but you didn't want to do that for a long time. But I had a therapist tell me once too that she thinks that getting cancer kind of saved our relationship because for both of us, we were so young, maybe we would have broken up. And we've had so many good memories together, but now I'm very much struggling with, yes, I broke up with him because I knew that at that point, if you're not sure, like after everything we've been through,
Yeah.
you're never going to be. And it has nothing to do with me. And it
Right.
has everything to do with you. What I didn't know at the time was that there have been many other times of him messaging other women. Maybe it didn't lead anywhere, maybe it did. But I think that he is maybe done with that difficult part. He's now dating a 25-year-old as
Okay.
a 38-year-old man. So I don't know if there's something that maybe also stunted for him at that time, but that's not for me to think about or judge. But I have been on dating apps a little bit. And
Mhm.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 36 years old. I just moved my whole life from California back to Texas. I'm living with my parents.
Yeah.
I'm in between jobs because I had a whole pet sitting business there, but I've been trying to get into the nonprofit world more. I do a lot of speaking events, so I travel a lot. And that's like really what I'm the most passionate about. And when my dad got cancer last year in December, he has angiosarcoma of the head and neck. It's like very rare, very aggressive, very bad. Don't read about it. It's terrifying. And he's doing great.
Stuff, so
Yeah, don't like reading about stuff. But it helped us a lot going through that, knowing that everything that I had been through and that I wasn't just the statistic, that I didn't live up to whatever the paper told me I did. And from that time, I really wanted to focus more on my family, to be closer. I thought that's what he wanted too, but I think that sent him into a panic for some reason, into a midlife crisis, what we could call it, existential crisis.
yeah,
And I wasn't in that same place because I'd kind of already gone through that earlier because of cancer. Like I was told you're going through an existential crisis. It was like 2019, like 2020 when my PTSD really started to come out like really strong. And I did some really hard work on myself through that. And so I was like, if he's not willing to meet me there, if he's always thinking about, is the grass greener? Is this happening? Like, that's not, I can't do that anymore. I can't feel like somebody's not sure of me.
yep,
But I also have no fucking idea how to date, how I'm going to go. I mean, I'm not like advertising on the app, like, by the way, I have stage 4 cancer, but I'm fine. And I don't know how I'm going to approach that on a date. I mean, just the general concept of talking to a man online and then going to meet him in real life, like that
mhm,
sounds terrifying.
yeah,
I hate dating in general. And I'm also like, God, I had this person for 10 years, like for 10 very formative years of my life. I've never dated in my 30s.
yeah,
I'm looking at also the fertility thing that has always been to me. My ex didn't really want to have kids. He knows I have these frozen eggs. We just weren't that worried about it. I've never been too sure if I want to have kids. Like, I've never felt that drawn to it. I'm the best little aunt, friend, babysitter you'll ever have. Like,
yeah,
trust me on that. But so now it's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to explain this. And everyone's like, well, there's so much more about you that's so much more interesting. Like my friends like, do not discredit like how awesome you are because of that. Or my mom was like, what if you meet another cancer survivor who really understands that? So I'm trying to stay open to those ideas, but it is really hard to let go of the person that saw you through all that. I mean, he was there with me. He was at my side for these surgeries. He was helping do my drains and all this stuff. And I do worry too, though, sometimes that like the kind of thoughts that I'm dealing with and going through are like, oh, well, did that maybe shift the way that he thought about me? Or is the fact that your libido changes, sexual stuff becomes more difficult? Did he think he was gonna go find something? Like there's so much self-doubt or like a feeling
right,
unlovable because you have this illness that really over the last few months have been very, very difficult to handle. And I think that the best thing I've done for myself is to know how to take care of myself. That is something I've really learned, and to know how to love myself. Like cancer made me actually like myself
mhm,
because I had to look at myself and be like, God, I've spent so much time people pleasing. I've spent so much time doing things for other people. And I had a therapist once who was like, you need to write down everything you like about yourself and everything you hate about yourself, and then read it back to yourself out loud. And I was like, yeah, great. And like it was hard to write down things I liked at the time. I was like, whatever, whatever. I don't like this. And then when I was writing down what I hated, it was so easy. And I was like going in on it. But then when I read it out loud, I was like, oh, I'm an asshole. I was
mhm,
like, I'm mean. And something I value a lot about who I am as a person is my kindness and my empathy. But I'm sitting there being like, oh, if I'm this mean to myself and like this much of a bully to myself, then I'm not a nice person, then I'm not a kind person. Because if I can't show myself an ounce of that kindness, if I was enjoying so much thinking of what I don't like about myself, that's just a terrible place to be.
yeah,
So that was like one of the most effective things I've ever done in a therapy. So I looked at, if I'm going to go through this breakup that I've chosen to go through, yes, he doesn't love me anymore. And sure, you could say that that's why. And it definitely was a big part of why. But the words came out of my mouth. And I do feel like they just came out of me. Like all
yeah,
that came out of me because I was doing what I knew was best for me.
your intuition was speaking.
And my intuition was right because
Mhm,
he was already talking to his 25-year-old. So it was like, I was like, okay, I could tell he was checked out. There you go.
yeah,
And it's been so difficult to have to grieve the relationship on my own too, because he jumped right into this other relationship. he also has social media stuff and has a YouTube channel. They're live streaming in our apartment, the apartment that I lived in with him forever,
Yeah.
that I recovered in. And even when we broke up, I was going through a pretty serious recurrence scare that I hadn't had one of those in a while. And it was a weird spot in a weird place that was really scary. And I could tell he wasn't here with me. I could tell he was distracted. And I know now it's because he was talking to another girl. But that to me too was what really stood out the most, was like, he's not here for me right now. I'm telling him I have to get a PET scan. I haven't gotten a PET scan in 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's not listening to me. And I was like, why aren't you listening to me right now? And he was like, what? You're talking about your scans. You get scans all the time. And I
Uh,
was like, excuse me? And I like went off on him about that, and he'd apologized and blah blah. And then a week later we've broken up. And so
yeah.
for me, it's okay that we grew apart. Like that I'm okay with. That him going and talking to the girls, of course, I'm not okay with at all. And that kind of betrayal is going to take me a while to recover from. But in
Yeah.
a way, too, I don't know. I'm really proud of myself for recognizing that knew how hard it was going to be. And I knew that I'm lucky enough to have two parents that care so much about me and live on a farm that's beautiful. And my dog's never been happier. I had to he got the cat, so that was also really difficult because I'm such a mom to my animals. Like I've never, whatever. I didn't want to separate them. It was the whole thing we've talked about a lot, me and my ex together. But yeah, it's been really hard to watch myself be replaced by a healthy 25-year-old who's just in my apartment. And I've gone a little crazy a few times. But I've also know that when it came to cancer, the thing I didn't do was let myself feel my feelings. I pushed down a lot of feelings early on because I was so concerned with being okay for everybody else. And I had to feel those feelings. Like they came out eventually. And that's what I've had to do with this, is like when I feel myself want to repress it, to feel okay to my parents, or to feel like okay to my ex or something, or to feel like I still need to take care of him in some way. Like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that anymore. And as scary and terrifying as online dating is, because some of it is, I'm like, ugh, what is
Yeah.
this corner of the internet? I'm just okay with putting myself out there again, and just, I like myself enough to know that I'm not gonna settle for somebody who isn't sure about me. And I'm really proud of myself for leaving a situation that, even though I didn't have all the information when I left, that I knew wasn't good for me and wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't serving me anymore. And I think it was so important and helpful for me to have that when I had it, and to not have to face those fears then. But yeah, it's very hard to face them now because it's like I for so long have heard all these horrible stories about women getting cheated on and getting divorced and all of this. And I always thought, oh, I'm so glad that's not me.
Hmm.
Like I'm so not saying that's gonna be everybody, because it won't at all. It
Right.
sucked to look at it and be like, damn, yeah, cancer does a number on relationships, and
That's
metastatic disease doesn't go away. So it's,
right.
yeah, it changed everything about who I am in so many ways, and then nothing about who I am in so many ways.
Yeah.
Now I just want to focus on me, and if somebody fits into that picture, great. And if they don't, then I honestly think I'd be fine with that as well. I just want to be happy, and I want to live the life I want to live. And I think at the end there, especially after my dad got sick, I was saying like I've wanted to change my life. I didn't really want to be in LA anymore.
Mhm.
I wanted to be able to work at a nonprofit and do all of these things and help other cancer survivors. That is what I'm focused on. And I think that I was spending a lot of time taking care of somebody and desperately trying to keep somebody who did not want to be kept.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I would have done anything to keep him. And I did. I tried everything. I went to every kind of therapy. And at a
Yeah.
certain point, you have to recognize I've done everything I can. And even he said in the breakup that I'd done nothing wrong. Now he said I've done things wrong because God
Right.
forbid
Yeah.
I take things that I bought from the apartment. They're so mad about these like organizing bins. And I was like, you have no concept of how expensive organizing bins are,
Right.
just by the way. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm taking my velvet hangers, I'm taking my organizing bins. You already have another girl on the wall. Like, let's not mitigate who's doing what here. But yeah, going through a breakup on top of all of it is just crazy. And something I didn't expect to be going through. And honestly, a lot of parts of it have been some of the hardest things I've ever dealt with in my life. And that is on top of dealing with cancer and dealing with everybody thinks cancer is the worst thing that's ever gonna happen to you. It's not. My
Yeah.
friend dying, that was worse. I
Yeah.
don't know if I have advice for anyone on dating with cancer because I'm about to do it for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, and it's hard. I'm very public about my stuff. That was never a insecurity of mine ever, but now I'm like, oh, if I give them my social media, well, there you go. And I'm not gonna stop being open about it because I wouldn't want to be with somebody who would want to not have me be open about it or who would be afraid of anything that I'm saying.
I
So
get
yeah, it'll be
also
weird.
you're not obligated to full disclosure, but this is part of your life. And how do you do it that way instead of I'm going to tell you what I have or what like it does feel again just as an observer, it feels like a lot of times when you go into the world of online dating, it's here's my checks. Oh
Yeah,
yes, they're that, they're this, they're that, or they have that, that's an out. And
yeah.
it's like living with metastatic disease, if it's a box for somebody, then there's nothing you can do about that.
There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah. And I have so many friends who have gone through divorces or breakups or were single when they got diagnosed who have found people or have dated successfully, even if that relationship didn't work out. And like I think of it, it's hard for me to look. I often do put myself in other people's shoes. Like
Yeah,
that's just something I try to practice a lot. And it's hard for me to do it in this situation because obviously I know I wouldn't be biased about anybody having cancer because I know how it changes a person and I know that it's something that we have no control over. And that's something I keep trying to really take in is this isn't my fault,
yeah,
but I'm not going to hide who I am. I'm not going to something I really like about being in my 30s is that exploration of like, who am I? What do I like about myself? What do I like? What do I enjoy? And I think having cancer really gives you the permission to be selfish about that in a way as part of like I know that the work I want to do, like when I go to these events, when I speak at these events, when I get to do like fun exercises, when I get to do like comedy at these events and connect with other young cancer people, like I've seen how it helps. I've
yeah,
seen how being open about my mental health struggles has helped. And I even see about how being open about my breakup has helped. And my ex hates that. He hates the fact that he thinks I've turned everybody against him or something. And I'm like, I've done nothing. Like literally, I'm just existing in pain that you caused. And if you want to get mad at me for that, great. That's up to you. Like I know what the truth is.
right.
I'm sorry if your truth is something you feel some sort of shame or guilt around. Maybe you should go to therapy and
Yeah,
handle that. Because I've
very
lived with a lot of shame and guilt in my life about
yes.
simply being alive with a disease I did nothing to cause and having success on medicines that it's just luck. And I don't live with that kind of stuff. And I know how much it's helped me to be able to see other people's content about breakups, even people who don't have cancer, and to see that they have a lot of the same fears. Like it makes you feel normal to
Yeah,
be like, yes, but then I also get to drop the, oh, by the way, I'm also infertile and I require additional lubrication in every part of my life. But I'm also excited at the idea of like meeting new people and just being proud of who I am. And there's people I've even looked at, oh, I have to decide if I'd be willing to like date somebody with a kid. I'm like, I've never thought about that in my life,
right.
which
Yeah,
genuinely I would be fine with. I don't care. It's going to cost me at least $100,000 to fertilize and surrogacy and do everything with an egg. That's something I've already been like, never been attached to having my own kids. I just have these very expensive eggs sitting in a
yes.
freezer in Beverly Hills, but it's all
Okay.
right.
Yeah. I think cancer gives us the opportunity, or you can take the opportunity. For me, it's been more like, okay, how do I want to live my life? What is really important to me? When it is about
Exactly.
pursuing the things that it just feels like this life feels a little more precious having had to deal with possibly dying at an early age. And it's kind of like, okay, so I'm here. I want to live the best I can live for me, however that looks.
Yeah, well, and I definitely look up to people like you who have had such success for such a long time to be like, there's no reason to think that you can't do that because none of us think that we can. I never thought that I would be celebrating 10 years, and I even for my 10 year, I had this big idea of going to New Zealand, and I was trying to fundraise for it. And now I'm like, okay, that's probably going to happen later. And I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Instead of that sending me into a panic of, because that preciousness is such a gift. Like it really is, because it's helped me to invest deeper into the relationships that I have, including the one with myself, and to appreciate like my dog's life and fucking butterflies and like all kinds of shit. But
Absolutely.
it also creates a panic sometimes where you're like, no, I have to do this thing. I have this thing set. I have to do it this way, or maybe I'll never get to do it.
Yeah.
But it's also like growth for me to be like, and I'll do it later, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
No, that's a great way to think about that. So,
Yeah.
wow. All right. We have been at this for a while. Can't thank you enough for coming on and just sharing your perspective. Again, it's been an interesting road for me in the last 5 years or so because my heart is really for women who are diagnosed in their 20s and 30s, and clearly I'm not anymore. So it's kind
I
of
still feel like I'm 26, like, all the time.
well,
I'm like, "Am I not 26? This is weird."
well, and it's funny, like, in the cancer world, like, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I get it that people in their 50s and 60s get cancer," and I'm like, "But that's not who my people are."
Yeah.
You know what I
Even,
mean?
like, I'm gonna age out of AYA in, like,
Yeah,
4 years or something, and I'm like, "Oh, no, but
yeah,
I'm always gonna be a 26-year-old. I've lived with cancer in all of these ages, and so
yeah,
that means you still count in all of those."
yeah. So it's great to have you here and have a perspective from where I was a long time ago when there was no internet and podcasting.
Right? Because even that's how I feel. I'm like, "Oh, if I had had, like, TikTok early on or this or
Oh,
that,
yeah,
like, that'd be so interesting." But then I also do worry that people do advocacy too early, because that's what I did as
I
well. You
agree
have
with
to
that.
make sure you're ready and that you're not just, like, giving everything because you feel like you have to. It should be
I
something that you want to do and you feel empowered to do, and not that feels exploitative and draining. Because that's what a lot of, like, bikini sessions or with pink boxing gloves where I was like, I just had a bunch of abdomen surgeries. I don't want to be in a bikini. I'm like, but now I have to be because I'm at this photo shoot.
okay.
Gotta do it.
I really worry about that too. I've talked on this podcast and other places about support groups and just really also being concerned about your own mental health first. It is a challenge. We all do want to support each other, but you providing support to other people when you aren't able to really be healthy on your
Yeah.
own is
And that's why I feel like I've posted less in my breakup, because I was like, well, there's another person involved here and I don't know how to be open without making him mad or whatever. But now that I'm like moved out and it's been months and he's being very public with his new girlfriend, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be so worried about that, because what the reason I make content is because I wanted to provide the representation that I so desperately needed, of just like, here's a normal girl who's not like super religious, because I wasn't super religious. There's so much of that, and there's nothing wrong with that, like, to each their own. But
yeah,
there just wasn't anyone representing me or what I felt like was me.
yeah,
And now I know so many women like me because of these events, because of social media. But I think too, what you do, and just the fact that that we're comfortable with it, that we're empowered by it, to just be present, to just be a presence
yeah,
on the internet. That's just like, hey, this could be you.
right,
It just could be. And
right,
I get people who I don't who like people from high school who tell me like, "Oh, I had a lump that I got looked at because of you," or like people who have been newly diagnosed that I DM with people so often. And that work to me is more important than anything that's public facing. And I mean, I can talk about disparities and this and that all the time, and I know that I have to. Like, I'm going to Washington DC in June, which I'm really excited about, talk about Medicaid and stuff. But I just know that not feeling alone is so vital and important. And I felt very alone for a very long time, because I'd go to support groups that were for breast cancer in general, and I would feel out of place
for sure.
because metastatic is so specific. It was so hard to find anyone that was young and metastatic and then not lose them,
Yeah,
because that's the other part of it. We just lose a lot of people, and
yeah,
it's just a shit luck thing. And
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful that my presence of my life and just showing my life that I think is beautiful and great, even when it's sad, even when it's heartbreaking, like just all of those aspects of it, like the fact that I get to be here and feel it, and the fact that anybody feels represented or less alone from that. I mean, I'll do it forever. I don't care if it affects my dating life or anything.
Right, right. No, and my goal with all of that is just to be able to provide some hope to people because I know I was searching. Again, I was diagnosed in 1998. Like the internet wasn't even really a thing. So like anything you would find was if it was a book, the person was dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wrote a book about how to live with cancer, cure cancer, whatever. And I understand that people just really need some hope and to be able to go, how do I move forward with this
Yeah,
versus
because when every doctor is telling you you maybe have 5 years to live,
yeah.
you just want some examples of or
Mhm,
longer,
mhm. Yeah,
or perhaps longer. And treatments change all the time. Like even since I now Ibrance wouldn't have even been my first option. It would have been
yeah,
Pasquale or something along those lines. And so it's like knowing that the longer I live, the greater chance I have of living, even though they would tell you the opposite. I now know, actually, no, that is what's true. Because the
yeah,
longer I live, the more advancements in medicine are made,
absolutely.
more my options become. And that's always the biggest thing with metastatic disease is like, just know that there is hope because we see it all the time.
Yeah,
And if you're not looking for it, like there was a while where I stopped looking for it because I thought I was being delusional because I'd lost so many people. I was like, I'm next. It's just going to happen. I need to
okay.
stop kidding myself of this and that. But all that led to was me like literally not wanting to live. I was like, I don't have a will to live now. I'm like, because I've decided that my life is a burden and that this is too hard or this and that. I'm like,
Yeah,
and that's just not, it's just not true.
right.
And none of us know how much time we're going to get. You could get hit by a car tomorrow. And I think for some people that state of mind kind of pisses them off or makes people uncomfortable or whatever. I'm so okay with that. Like I like that I have a healthy relationship with my death. I like that I have a will. I like that I have my advance directive I've had since I was 26, which now I actually need to update because it has a lot with to do with my ex.
Yeah,
I
yeah, our will
need
is
to update my will.
says and like biological or adopted children. We're like, oh, good. That was
Yeah.
before time, so glad we included him on that. But it's
Yeah.
time to look at that. But it's so
But
true.
life is a wonderful, great thing. Even and there's so much we can't control, and there's so much that was just going to happen. Like stuff is going to happen to you, and you just have to decide how you want to handle it.
Yeah,
And either you want to let it make you better or you don't. And I think for me, everything I've gone through, I'm thankful for everything, even the painful stuff.
yeah,
I wouldn't change it because it's my story and it's my life. And as long as I can look back and know that, when I was told I was gonna die, it wasn't like I was all of a sudden mad that I wasn't like some big person who's changed the world. All I wanted was more time with my dog, more time with my family, another good cup of coffee, like to split a lox bagel with my mom. Like that stuff is everything.
it's the
Yeah, the little things are everything. And even in that time when I kind of lost my will to live, what made me find it again was in appreciating the little moments of every day, of looking at every single day and how much there is to be grateful for in every single day,
yeah,
and the shitty stuff, sure, I'd love to not go through anything painful and awful, but my God, have I come out of all of those things so much cooler and stronger and more badass. I always say, like, to groups of especially groups of metastatic women, I'm like, "Yeah, we're incurable because 'cause we're incurably badass.
yeah.
We're incurably, like, super hot and, like, incurably better than everyone else." Like, sorry. Sorry, it's just the truth.
Love it.
It's what the doctors won't tell you.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. All right, this has been great, and I would love to be able to talk again in the future, and
I'd love that.
so, all
It's
right.
truly an honor, though, to know you and to see you, and you're somebody I look up to just so much. So keep living your good life. That's the
I
best thing either of us can do.
agree. I agree. Thank you so much. One more thing. Do you just want to share your where you people can find you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You can find me on TikTok, all social media at the Annie Bond. So
Okay.
THE Annie Bond. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. And feel free to DM me. And if I don't see it, because they keep changing where things go in folders, please
Yeah.
leave a comment saying I've DM'd you and I will get back to you.
Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good day. Bye.